Hey there, my name's Rod Yates, and you are listening to Humans of Music, a Jaxsta podcast. This is where I talk to music creators and industry professionals about their lives and careers, the ups and downs of their journey, and the lessons they've learned along the way. And my guest today is Scottish singer-songwriter Nina Nesbitt. Nina knows firsthand how fickle success can be. By the time she was 20, she played arena shows, and her debut album Peroxide had gone to number 1 in Scotland and number 11 throughout the rest of the UK. But despite this success, she was dropped by her record label, and as she says in this interview, she was abandoned by everyone but her closest friends and family almost overnight. Through determination and hard work, she managed to turn her career around, releasing her acclaimed second album, The Sun Will Come Up, The Seasons Will Change, in 2019. I spoke with Nina not long after the album's release, and we talked in depth about her journey to the top of the charts and back down again, and what she learned while piecing her career back together. One of the songs on The Sun Will Come Up is called The Moments I'm Missing, which is this beautiful autobiographical account of her life, complete with the revelation that as a 5-year-old, it was her goal to work in a bar, which is where we start our conversation.
Do you have nursery here?
Yeah,
you call it nursery. Preschool?
Like preschool or
yeah,
something.
Preschool. And we had to draw on a piece of paper what we wanted to do when we were older. So all the girls were like fairies, princesses, and I put bartender. And they actually called my parents in and were like, why does Nina want to be a bartender? It's a bit concerning at the age of 5. And it's because I couldn't see over the bar, and I was really interested about what was like behind it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's now translated to stage. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
I think I will always want to be where I'm not supposed to be.
Yeah, right. So what were you doing in the bars? You just would go with your parents anyway?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's not like a pub bar. It's more just like, like a meal with a
gotcha.
like a English pub.
Yeah.
A bit of food and
Yeah, cool.
they're called Brewers Fayre.
Okay.
It's like a really cheap kind of chain.
And is that in Livingston?
It was in Livingston, yeah.
Okay. What were your memories of growing up there?
I remember it being small. It's kind of like the place where you live in a cul-de-sac and all the houses are designed to look the same. So there's like 3 styles of houses, and then it's like different like variations of that house. So it's kind of not like the Truman Show, but it's very like someone has manufactured this street, and it's like all families. So it was like a nice little street. It was really sheltered away from the world.
Yeah.
Obviously didn't realise that as a kid. And it was just a lot of playing outside, and I was an only child, so
right.
The dreaded only child. I had a lot of time to create things. I was really creative, really liked art and writing and playing my piano. Well, shitty keyboard that I had.
Right.
Yeah.
And you think that's a byproduct of being an only child?
Yeah, because I would have been bored otherwise. I had to make some sort of activity for myself.
Yeah.
I really like being alone now. I think it's probably from just being on my own as a kid.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And were your parents, were they kind of really involved in terms of finding things for you to do, or were you just sort of left for your own devices?
Yeah, I think I was really interested in my mum's CD collection. She's Swedish, so she has a lot of pop CDs in the house. She loves pop music. Very, very stereotypical, but yeah, she had like ABBA, like all the ABBA albums, Mariah, Whitney, Christina, Britney, sort of Max Martin pop, more with like divas as well. And yeah, just enjoy doing that. So she would get more CDs every now and then. And it was I was just left to my own devices really in the house, and I would sit and pause the CDs so that I could write down what the words were. So I was so interested what the lyrics were to every song. Don't know why.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, but something I discovered later on in life is my gran wrote loads of poems when she was younger. So I feel like it might just be like a genetic thing. I don't know. I was never encouraged to write. Just I guess didn't have many people to talk to in the house because I was an only child. Yeah. So I kind of talked to myself, I guess. I don't know.
And that was quite important for you, wasn't it? That sort of that poem writing or that story, those stories that you would write, because they would end up being some of the things that you would put to music later on in life. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote like 4 or 5 very short novels, like 10-page novel. It was like a novel at that age, okay?
Yeah. How old are you? At that point?
6 or 7 when I wrote the first one, and it was about my cat called Harry and how he took a football to the supermarket. And it went out the door and he couldn't find it. Very random, but yeah, I wrote a book about that, and I covered the front cover in sellotape so it looked shiny like a book cover and everything. I was very, very pleased with it. But I found like by page 8 or 9 I started getting really bored. I started losing interest. So I decided to just write short stories instead. And then at 10, my mum was like, you should maybe think about learning an instrument because you love singing so much. So I had like 1 or 2 keyboard lessons, learning like triads, like the chords. And then I started putting the words to the music, and that's how it started.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you were 10 at that point?
Yes.
Okay. And then several years after that, you moved again to, or not again, but you moved to Balerno.
Yes.
Is that how you pronounce the town?
Yeah, I moved there when I was 12, 13.
Okay.
Because it had a better school and they wanted me to like get a good education.
Okay.
So I went to high school there. And it was like a tiny little village, smaller than Livingston, where there's like a post office, a chip shop, and a pub, and a school, and a church. Yeah, it's very small. Lots of fields.
How do you go when you're traveling or how do you go in big cities these days? Like, is it an easy sort of thing for you to adapt to?
Yeah, literally ever since I was born, I've wanted to live in a big city. I have no idea why, but I always wanted to move to London.
Okay.
I have no idea. I'd never really been as a kid, like we never went on holiday there or anything. And I always just thought it was just this magical place where anything could happen and I could achieve my dreams. Because in the village, like there was no other people, like there's no producers there obviously, or record labels, or I felt like the city was my sort of gateway to getting where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I moved there when I was 17 and still live there now. So I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had that ambition very early on.
Yeah, I used to sit and look at flats online when I was like 12. I had no concept about what money was. I was really bad at maths as well. Like numbers are just not my forte.
Yeah.
And I'd sit and look at like real estate like websites and I'd be like, Mum, is this a lot of money to pay each month? Do you think I'll be able to afford this when I grow up? And she'd be like, I wouldn't get your hopes up. That's a lot of money. Obviously London rent is very expensive, so I had been planning it for a while.
How was it for your parents letting you go at 17?
I think it was quite hard for my mum. I thought I was so old. I thought I was a fully grown adult and it wasn't even a big deal that I was moving. But obviously my mum had to like come to things with me because I was still a minor.
Yeah.
So I signed my first publishing deal at 17 and she had to like accompany me to things. So I guess it wasn't like I just left home and was like, see you later. She was still kind of around. But yeah, then on my 18th birthday, I moved into my manager's spare room and I had like independence, I guess. Yeah. And
there was no, what about for you, like moving to a big city? Was it that, did your dream, like, I guess if it's been your dream for a long time to move there, was it confronting in some ways as well though, to move into such a metropolis?
I loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think I'd just been so sheltered my whole life that I was like dying to get out and see the world and get on the tube and just like look around me at all the different people.
Yeah.
You know, people from everywhere around the world. The village that I grew up in, like literally 98% of my school was white Scottish. So I had never grown up around like other cultures. And what I love about London is you can walk down one street and it's like Caribbean food and like Caribbean culture, and then you can walk around another one, it's like Indian culture. And I just love that it's so diverse.
Yeah. And there was another line in that song, sort of going back a few years prior to 17, we talked about reaching 13.
Yeah.
And then moving in and putting black under your eyes.
Yeah.
Is that your emo goth phase? What is that?
I think it's just like when you start, I think as a young girl, anyway, where I was from, when you got to a certain age, you would start putting makeup on, and it'd be like, who can wear the most makeup sort of thing. And yeah, it was probably quite horrendous. But yeah, I used to put black eyeliner on my eyes, and it kind of became like my thing when I started as an artist. I had big black like flicks on my eyes, and I don't know, I thought it was like my stage costume almost. Yeah. And then I was like, I can't be arsed doing this every day anymore.
So when did you actually start performing? When was your first show?
The school talent show.
Really?
Yeah, it was so bad. Horrendous. I did it like 3 years. I did 1 year with my best friend. I actually was in a band with my best friend for like a year called Vintage Radio.
That's not bad.
We were like 15, and there was a little laptop, MacBook thing in the school that had GarageBand on it. And we recorded a cover of Fields of Gold there.
Wow.
Yeah.
By Sting, right?
Yeah, it was the Eva Cassidy version.
Okay.
I listened to her quite a bit. And yeah, we recorded it and put it on YouTube, and that's the first thing that ever went out. But we did a show together in a restaurant, I remember. Just me and her doing covers. Very random, no idea how we even got in there. And then I started playing at this place called the Electric Circus in Edinburgh, which is, it used to have like open mic nights.
Okay.
Sort of like a bar. So I would like kind of just sneak in there, pretend I was 18. And just places around Edinburgh. But the Electric Circus was the place that I started.
Okay.
At probably 15, 16.
Right.
15, 16.
Yeah.
And I did that every once in a while, and there was a promoter there called JP who always like helped me out and put me on. And at the same time I started a YouTube channel because I still had terrible stage fright and couldn't look at anybody or talk on stage, so YouTube was like my outlet to performing but not having to get up on stage.
Yeah.
And then that started growing. So
What was the first song you put up on YouTube? Did you say Fields of Gold?
well, that is Vintage Radio.
Yeah.
But the first song that Nina Nesbitt put up on YouTube was at 15. I think at the same time I was singing with her. It was a song called Already Gone by Kelly Clarkson, and it was just me and my guitar in my hallway. Put that one up.
And so what are you hoping for by doing this?
I wanted to see if people thought I could sing or not, because growing up I had a friend that was a really good singer. We'd always used to sing together, and my mum and like her friends and her mum were always like, oh, she's got such a great voice. It's actually Fern, who I mentioned in this song.
Yeah.
Fern had a great voice, and I didn't, and I knew I didn't. And it's something that I really had to work at. Like, I've sung so much that I feel like I'm now like an all right singer, but it took me a long time to get there. So I just wanted to see if people thought I could sing, and just have strangers tell me, because I feel like your friends are always like, oh, you're great. And yeah, it sort of left me like there for criticism.
Well, I was going to say, because online can be pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, you were really sort of putting your head into the lion's den.
Yeah, I was.
And did it backfire in any way? Was there any kind of times when...
Yeah, I get the odd bad comment, but it wasn't really like it is now. I feel like bad comments now are even worse for some reason. It was when the internet and social media was just sort of starting to be a thing. So... yeah, a lot of girls. It was me, Gabrielle Aplin, Lauren Aquilina, and there was like a few of us that were going down the YouTube covers and originals route and building a fan base through that. But to be honest, it was mostly just people commenting on the songs.
Yeah.
There wasn't really any hate about you.
Okay.
Whereas I feel like now with like Instagram or whatever, people will just like say horrendous things for no reason, or just try and find something to complain about.
Yeah.
It's very strange, but it wasn't really like that
Okay.
when it started.
Do you remember the first time you got some feedback where someone said, yeah, you can sing?
I don't remember one specific thing, but I remember the videos like slowly growing over time. And then like around Edinburgh, it sort of just became a thing that like I was the girl that sung on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, like I remember the head teacher came up to me one day and he was like, oh, like, you've got a YouTube channel, you're like famous or something. And I was like, what? And he was like, oh, heard that you've started getting a following. He's like, that's really good.
Yeah.
Like, well done. And yeah, it just sort of started to become a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so this time you've also got like another interest in gymnastics.
Yeah, I'd actually quit gymnastics by that point.
You'd quit by that point.
Yeah.
But you were quite serious about that, like the almost sort of Commonwealth representation level?
Yeah, so I was in the Scottish team. But basically I've got minor scoliosis in my back.
Okay.
Very niche, but it means that my back isn't like as bendy as it needs to be.
Right.
So I kind of knew like I wasn't going to make the team, and I was just like, I seen a lot of the girls that were older than me getting like problems with their knees and stuff, and I was like, I don't want to have physical problems for life if it's not going to be a career. But I think it taught me a lot about like hard work and, you know, the amount of hours you have to put into something to have results.
Yeah.
Because it was like really hard training, but I really enjoyed it. It kind of gave me like a purpose.
Yeah. When you had to give it away though, I mean, was it a case of like, did music sort of bring that forward a little bit, that decision to give it away?
I think I got to an age where I started drinking and like going to parties. Right. As horrible as that sounds, it's true. And sort of boys became a thing, and I just sort of lost my interest with it. I also knew I'm very competitive, and I knew I wasn't going to win, which sounds terrible as well, but it's true. So, yeah. Okay. I knew I wasn't going to get any better. So I thought, time for something new.
After the break, we talk about the success Nina experienced early in her career, the fallout after being dropped by her record label, and what she learned throughout that whole roller coaster ride. Welcome back to Humans of Music and my interview with Nina Nesbitt. Earlier on I mentioned a song called The Moments I'm Missing and how Nina sings about wanting to be a bartender at the age of 5. Well, there's another lyric in that song in which she talks about meeting someone who changed her life. That someone was Ed Sheeran, and we pick up the conversation talking about just how Ed changed her life.
It completely took my life and turned it on its head. I was 17. I met him at a radio event. There was a few people there, and somebody I knew worked at like another department in the radio, and he was like, oh, there's this guy called Ed Sheeran. I was like, oh yeah, I've heard like a couple of his songs, and went along and really liked it. And I was like, can I play you a song? Because at that point, you know, I'm in a village and I'm like, how's anyone going to hear me?
Yeah.
Apart from my YouTube channel. But I was like, I'd love to get his feedback. I really like what he does. And then he was like, I think his tour manager took my email and then was like, he tweeted me that night, I think, and was like, do you want to support me in Glasgow? And I was like, yeah, why not? And then he asked me to come down to London and duet Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen.
Yeah.
I think it was, that version. And we did that, and that's how I got introduced to the industry, doing a cover of Hallelujah.
Right.
And that's how my publisher found me, even though I wasn't singing my own song.
Yeah.
So it really like opened up a lot of doors for me, which was like amazing, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. So take me back to getting that tweet. What do you think? Like you made it sound very casual and like, yeah, sure. But presumably this is a big room that he's playing.
Yeah.
And you had stage fright still at this point.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Well, when that happened, I think like in Scotland, not in Scotland, but like Edinburgh, Glasgow, some people knew of my music already through YouTube. So the radio in Glasgow invited me to play at their event at an arena in front of 10,000 people that weekend. Because they were like, oh, like you're supporting Ed, we really like him. But like, why don't you come and play our event? You know, to get a bit of experience.
Yeah.
So I went there. This is how inexperienced I was, because I've literally just played like pubs or whatever to a few people. I turned up with my handbag, and I walked on stage with my handbag as if I was going to like the toilet at the shopping centre or something.
Just put it down your feet so no one
steals it. Put it down
at
the very side and just wandered on with my guitar. And my mum and dad were like on the verge of throwing up with nerves. And I played 3 songs. I did a cover of Little Lion Man, and I did a song called Standing on One Leg, and something else, I can't remember. And then I just wandered off, and I was like, that was great, really enjoyed that. And then it sort of clicked, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, you make it sound pretty casual. But as you're walking onto stage, what's going through your head?
I think it was so surreal. I think also I'd just left school, so I think I wasn't really aware of adult life at that point and how hard you have to work to get these opportunities and how lucky I was to be getting them. So I just thought, oh, it's just what happens. It's just like being a musician. You see it in films, don't you? Like someone goes to play an arena like overnight. It's not actually what happens in real life a lot of the time though, which I realise now. But yeah, I'm quite glad that I was young because I didn't really second guess it. I just went with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were 17 when you did your first UK tour as well. Is that right? First
it
headline
was.
tour?
Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm.
Which I imagine is a big learning process for someone who hasn't played many shows, has grown up in a small village.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you remember learning from that first run?
Well, I'd done a couple shows with Ed and I'd done a few shows with a DJ called Example.
Mm-hmm.
And then he invited me on his arena tour, Example, because I think Ed just sort of told everyone that I was like an experienced musician. And then everyone was like, oh, come on tour with me. Like, I really like your stuff. So I'm like, okay, cool, let's do it. So I did an arena tour with Example when I was 17. And that was like my 15th gig or whatever. And I was playing to like 20,000 people, ravers, like ready to party.
Yeah.
Me and my little acoustic guitar. So when I went to do the headline shows to like 150, 200 people,
Okay.
it felt quite all right, really.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And to have people there at my own show was crazy. Like people bringing drawings with them and, you know, wearing like, I had a bowler hat that I wore, people wearing the bowler hats. So I was like, this is so mad. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
And so you'd seen, I guess you'd had a glimpse of fame by being with Example and being with Ed Sheeran. Like, what did you see? What did you witness about fame at that kind of level?
I think I often confused fame and success at that age. Like, I used to think, oh, being famous must be really cool. Because I was just really naive and didn't really know what it meant. And I think as I was in the music industry more, I was like, I want to be successful. I don't want to be famous.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think they're both musicians that have started from nothing and like worked their way up. And I think that's why they have had really long careers so far. Because I think famous is when, I don't know, like you go on the X Factor or whatever and you're famous for a year. And I think that's like damaging to you as a person. Like people find that really difficult to deal with. Whereas if you just take your time and are patient and work really hard and, you know, are lucky enough to get an opportunity, I feel like that's when you can be successful.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted after figuring out the difference.
Yeah. And so then when your first album, Peroxide, comes out, 2014, number 1 in Scotland.
Yeah.
Number 11 in the UK. I guess at this point, again, are you just sort of feeling like, well, this is, yeah, of course, I've done these arena shows. This is the next step. Is it all just feeling like it's rolling and fitting into place?
I put a song called Stay out before the album, and that really felt like the peak of that time. I put that out and I got my first top 40 single with that, and that was really, really exciting. I was like on top of the world about that, and I loved the song. And I went from playing a festival to 300 people to 10,000 within the year, which was like, that was like so cool. I loved that moment. And then by the time the album came out, it had all gone a bit weird.
In what way?
I think it was all moving a bit fast because it sort of just started off quite early for me and I didn't have the songs ready and I didn't really know like what album I wanted to make, but like the label and radio and stuff are like sort of like where is it, like we want to roll with it now, which is obviously amazing, but I just didn't have the experience or the time to know what I wanted to do or who I was. So I think I just started panicking, and then when the album came out I was kind of like, I don't even really like some of these songs, which is really bad, but I just felt like a lot of it had been compromised to get on the radio or please like other people. But then there was like a few songs on there that I was really proud of. So I think you can hear it in the album. It's a bit all over the place, but I'm still really proud of it. But yeah, like that came out and then it got put out on Brits Week, which is like our awards show. And then it was like #1 all week, and then the Brits happened and it went to number 11, and it was all just like so stressful, and it's just like not what music should be about at all. But yeah, it was like a bit shit, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
And then after that I was like, I had a bit of an identity crisis.
Right.
So yeah.
In what, like, identity crisis, how?
I just didn't know like what type of music I wanted to make, and what I was doing, I was making really poppy stuff because that's the music I was listening to. But the label were like, well, we've already got this many pop artists, like we can't have another one. But then I was like, well, I don't want to like just fit into your like boxes that you have. So I kind of fell out with them. And then I got shelved for like 2 years. I wrote a whole album which never came out, but I thought it was coming out. And then yeah, they tried to drop me the day before my song Chewing Gum was coming out, but it had already been like announced and stuff, so I put it out anyway, and then I left them, and then it was all really dramatic.
Yeah. Is your head spinning at this point? Because
Yeah.
you've had the roller coaster. You've
Like
been up.
proper roller coaster. Yeah, I felt like my life was sort of falling apart, and I was like, oh shit. But I think that's what happens when you don't have like the foundations of, you know, the experience. When you've not worked for your craft enough, I think that's what happens.
And you got the song Empire, and one of the lyrics is, I started fading quick when I should have been making it. So you were acutely aware of what was happening at that point.
Oh yeah, it was annoying for me because I was like, I've got the opportunities right in front of me, but I just don't have the songs or the experience or the confidence. It was like, fuck, I wish this had happened like 5 years later. But, you know, you can't pick. I'm still like really grateful for everything happening, but yeah, I just wasn't really ready.
Yeah. I think that's such a big thing for young artists though.
Yeah, and I think working now, like when I got dropped, I started songwriting for others permanently. That was like my full-time thing. And I was working with these young girl artists. They were like 15, 16 in development. And I'd go in there and I think, oh God, like this was me. Like they're having the time to develop, and like a lot of them maybe didn't know what their sound was or what they wanted to say or who they were and all that. And I was like, shit, that was me.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to leave the artist to figure that out.
Yeah. Did you have advice that you could give these young artists?
Yeah, definitely. Like I never want to say too much. I want people to like figure it out by themselves. But yeah, definitely try and like stay in touch with any like younger artists that want to ask questions.
Okay.
Because I feel like I've had quite a lot of experience with things. And a few younger artists have definitely come to me for advice, and I try and give them my honest opinion without like, you know, I don't want to like interfere with their own decisions, but yeah, it's like it's my own experience at the end of the day.
Sure. So who helped you when things started going bad and you get dropped and you've got that sort of feeling that no one wants to work with you? Like what stopped you from going off the edge? Were there people that really helped you, or was there an inner kind of resilience?
Basically everybody fucked off except from my manager and my mum.
So you know
to put it bluntly.
You know how your friends are.
Yeah. And then I had like obviously my school friends, and I had a couple friends outside music, but everyone sort of disappeared, and that was really hard to deal with. So I just started going out, partying, and I sort of lived the uni lifestyle for a bit, which I'd missed out on because all my friends had gone to university and done all their partying and fun and not caring about things too much. So I guess I kind of did that, and then I was like, I need to get my shit together, so I'm going to write for other artists. Okay. But yeah, it kind of opened my eyes to like who was my real friend and who wasn't.
Yeah, so it's like a big learning process.
Massive learning process, yeah.
What are some of the other things you took away from that experience?
Sort of how lucky I was to have everything as well, that I've had. I didn't really realise at the time how lucky I was. And also that nobody really knows what they're doing. So you may as well just take it into your own hands, and then if it goes wrong, then at least it's like your fault. Or like if it goes right, then it's you, it's you who's singing it. So it gave me eventually like more confidence in my own decisions.
Okay.
Because I feel like in the music industry, no one knows what's going to take off at all, and I sure never expected like to have this many streams or whatever, or to be here with this album. Like I literally just wanted to make an album that I loved. So yeah, I think it just taught me to go with my gut a lot more as well, because a lot of the decisions on the first album were other people's decisions, which was fine, but I think it's really important if you're like a solo artist especially to like know what you want.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting as well that you kind of pretty much taught yourself how to produce to make this record. And again, because it comes back to that resilience, that idea of, well, I still want to do this. I just need to find a way to actually make it happen. Like, where does that resilience come from?
Well, I was contacting producers, but they were either like cancelling on me, or I couldn't get hold of them, and obviously didn't have any money to like pay. So
you kind of laugh about it now, but that must have been terrible.
Yeah, it was shit. But at the same time, like I'm very independent and I do like doing things by myself. So it kind of also excited me that I would have to learn, and I wouldn't say I'm like the best producer still. I'm still learning, but it gives me like a good idea of like making a demo and bringing it in and being like, this is what I want. It really, really helped with this album, and now like all the songs, I'm like, I got them to sound how I wanted them to sound. But yeah, and then whoever I did work with, I knew that they were passionate, because there was no like, like big fee, or wasn't like Sony at the time was like wanting this priority act, and it was like they genuinely just liked the music. Which was really cool. And I worked with two guys called Jordan Riley and Lost Boy from the beginning. But a lot of the other writers and producers that I worked with, I got to through writing for other artists, because I was getting cuts as a writer. So yeah, I'd go into the sessions and then I'd be like, they'd be good for my own thing or whatever. Yeah.
And I've seen a quote from you where you say that this album, it was something that you used to get you over from being depressed.
Yeah.
And I guess the song, like the name of the album, The Sun Will Come Up, The Seasons Will Change.
Yeah.
Kind of reflects that, I suppose, hope or that reality that there is a new day, and you just have to see it through to that. But was the depression stemming from what had happened in your career?
Yeah, I think so, because as soon as things started to get better, I felt better. So I knew it was like situational, if you know what I mean. But writing the album really helped me get over that, and like talking to people. I got back with my ex-boyfriend during that period of time as well, and he was like so helpful, and just having someone to talk to was amazing. Just someone to sit there and listen and go, you're not crazy, or like, that's not the reality, like that's not what other people think, or whatever.
You need that sometimes.
Yeah, and like I was really lucky to have that, and my manager and my mum as well were really supportive. But yeah, it was difficult, and I think a lot of my fan base seem to have experienced like similar things, whether it be anxiety or depression or whatever, and it's something that I can relate to. So something that I just try and put in my music because it was relevant to me at the time. And yeah, I think the title of the album, like, to me is so true. That's why I wanted to pick it as the title, because like literally had no expectations before I put this music out. All I wanted to do was like maybe get to 3 million streams, because that's what my song Stay Out had. And now it's at 320 million, which is like crazy. So yeah.
It worked out.
Yeah.
Just lastly, so Jaxsta is all about giving credit where credit's due.
Yes.
Who would you mentioned your mum and your manager. Who else would you give credit to for helping you along your journey?
Say all the producers and writers that I work with. Say Jordan Riley and Lost Boy, were a big part of this album. And Fraser T. Smith as well, he's like a legendary producer. He's had a lot of experience, and working with him was like really, really cool. A guy called Sam Preston as well, I write with a lot. I'd say like they're the main people on this album. And just like all the people that I work with, really. The label as well have been incredible. I'm on an indie label now called Cooking Vinyl, and it's been like an absolute dream working with them. I literally just handed the album in and was like, I want these to be the singles, and they were like, cool. So yeah, they've been amazing. And yeah, I don't know, my friends, just anyone that's been in my life really has helped.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's a big difference from the Peroxide experience.
Yeah, like hugely. But I think the industry's so different as well now. It's not like you put the album out and that's it. It's more like you put the album out and then you grow it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just exciting.
Cool. Nina, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that's it for another episode of Humans of Music. A big thanks to Nina for her time, and thank you for listening. This episode was recorded at the Sony Music Studios in East Sydney and mixed by Lachlan Mitchell from Parliament Studios in Annandale. The incidental music and theme song were written and performed by Sam Lockwood. Please remember to subscribe to the Humans of Music podcast so you never miss an episode, or even better, jump online, share it amongst your friends, and rate and review it. And remember, for all your music credits and to get the story behind the music, head to jaxsta.com, and while you're there, check out Jaxsta Pro, the essential tool for all music industry professionals. Until the next episode of Humans of Music, I'm Rod Yates. Thanks for listening.